So, this is where we introduce adaptive case management. I'll be very candid with you, this is a work in progress. It's a work in progress because there's an awful lot of words on there, and I think a definition should probably be a bit more concise than that. But fundamentally, what adaptive case management is, in my view, and from the examples I've seen out there in industry, it's about providing a support environment for, fundamentally, knowledge work. And it's kind of characterized by a few things. It's characterized by supporting work in the context of goals, which are clearly defined. And they're clearly defined to the people executing the work, okay? Which is not always the case in a very structured environment. I'll come back to that in a sec. Together with some management tools that enable improvement of the work. But improvement in a context where you don't have that prescribed method. So we have to approach things slightly differently. So in an adaptive case management environment, work is not carried out according to a prescription. It's guided by teams of workers who are working kind of alongside codified patterns of practice. Get back to the fire department example. We have these component plans. They're essentially codified practice for dealing with certain aspects of situations. So, in these kind of systems, what we want to do is build support for teams of workers who are going to have these plans at their disposal and rules that help define which plans are most likely to meet the needs of certain kinds of cases. So the key themes that pop out are, it's about optimal performance of individual cases, and it's about pursuing quality in individual cases where you may not necessarily be able to say quality always looks like X or quality always looks like Y. Goals pushed down to the operational environment, made explicit to the people doing the work. Patterns of practice or kind of component plans and rules that help support the way that those things are surfaced to the people doing the work. So essentially guide rails, if you like, smart guide rails that help to say, this is the kind of stuff you probably should be doing. These are the recommendations of the kinds of strategies we should be pursuing to deal with this particular case. Now, I'm going to do something that people say is not good practice, so maybe you're with me, maybe you're not. So I'm going to go backwards. They say, don't go backwards. Don't ever go backwards. So what does that mean? Just to put it in the context of this, I've just said, you know, if we're dealing with knowledge work and we're dealing with work that is to an extent unpredictable, to an extent, that prescriptive method has to kind of be erased from the picture. So what goes in its place? You can't just have strategy, magic, kind of quality at the bottom. Something else has to go in the middle. And what goes in the middle is that blend of component plans, sort of patterns of practice, if you like, rules, guidance, clear goals, and goals that are explicitly pushed down and decomposed to the people doing the actual casework. Okay? So you're really empowering those people working on the case to know what the goal is and to have the tools at their disposal, and you're empowering them to make decisions. Yes, those decisions will be guided by rules, they'll be guided by component plans that are available in the context of the case. But what you're not doing is saying, this is the method, follow the method. There was that, I don't know if any of you were, there was a fantastic breakout given by the former CIO of the Material Command of the Air Force. And one of the charts, one of the slides he had a picture of some people, and it was supposed to be in a brochure, and it was advertising some kind of system that they'd put in to deal with requisitions or something. And there was this massive manual on the desk. And the people, bear in mind this was a brochure and it was supposed to be promoting what was being done, the people looked incredibly glum. That's the situation we've got to avoid, where you have this massive procedure and it's just follow the procedure. That's not what we're about here. So I'm going to go forward again. So let's try to put this together quickly in a conceptual view. So a case, bear in mind we're talking about case management. Not surprisingly, case is the biggest thing on this chart. So a case has some distinguishing features. Those distinguishing features are going to be information about the case. So there may be, for example, the customer. Some information about the segment of that customer if you do customer segmentation. And that customer segmentation may drive certain kinds of behavior if they're a premier customer, for example. And evidence or content about the case. So, for example, the nature of the complaint, the actual complaint itself. A case is more than just a bag or a box or a folder for just dumping stuff in, right? It needs to have metadata associated with it because it's that metadata, it's the context that actually helps to drive behavior and drive guidance, okay? So, case has a clear goal that you push down to the case workers in the operation environment. So about resolving this particular issue, for example. It has distinguishing features which are used by the system to help define and recommend how work might need to get done, templates to follow and so on. And then the case owner is the person identified at the beginning who's going to be responsible for seeing this case through to completion. Case owner has at their disposal some guidance, they're supported by some rules, and those things all in concert drive work management decisions. So you don't have a prescribed method that is the kind of all-seeing eye that drives everything mechanically forward. What you have is a series of intelligent elements that together help to drive work management decisions. And then supporting those work management decisions is a group of caseworkers and other experts you might pull in to do particular kinds of work. Some kind of repository of tasks and component plans and process fragments. And of course, back-end systems you'll need to integrate to. So this is kind of a high-level cartoon, but these are the key elements that I think you really need to have at your disposal if you're going to try and do this kind of support implementation for knowledge work. So now let's talk about mobile and social quickly. I've got a bit of a problem. And I'm probably going to make some Appian people quite nervous for a few seconds here. I've got a bit of a problem with social. And the problem I've got is about a particular take on why social is important. Have any of you kind of heard the discourse about Generation Y or Generation M, and about how we must do social because these guys spend all their time on Facebook, and if we don't give them something that looks like Facebook, they're not going to join our company, right? I have a real problem with that. I think, frankly, it's lazy thinking, okay? It's lazy. So, an admission, I was a massive geek as a kid. I don't know if any of you have heard of Dungeons and Dragons. I was really into Dungeons and Dragons. That's probably about the geekiest thing you could be into when I was sort of 16. And I had a friend, pretty unlikely friendship, frankly, a friend who was really into the Beastie Boys and skateboarding, right? Now, what happened? Well, you know what? When I entered the world of work, I did not expect to be able to play Dungeons and Dragons at my desk. And my friend did not expect to be able to skateboard up and down the corridors. I just think that this whole thing of you must do social, you must do something that looks like Facebook because people expect it. That's lazy thinking. It's about the business value. So what I don't have a problem with is that this stuff has real business value. What I have a problem with is that lazy thinking that says, well, you know, we have to do it because of Generation Y or M or whatever letter we're choosing this week. Fundamentally, social and mobile are really powerful because they supercharge the value of this kind of support system we're talking about. So if you think about knowledge work, and you've got this kind of momentum of work being done, you've got the core participants, the case owner, the case workers. That's all well and good. But in a system without social and mobile kind of capabilities, that system is closed. And the information and the knowledge is kind of kept internal to that system. There's no sharing. of that information. And sharing is not just, you know, nice, like sitting around on beanbags and, you know, having happy times. Sharing is really, really important because actually work and work improvement is a team sport, and in an environment where we have globalized competition and where competition can come from anywhere and where people can do a lot of stuff a lot cheaper than we can, we absolutely better get good at team sports, because you can't just optimize at the level of an individual's contribution. You have to be prepared to optimize work at a much broader scope. So sharing and collaboration is absolutely critical. That is why social and mobile are absolutely fundamentally important to this kind of work. Okay? It's about making sure that different kinds of stakeholders can participate, not only in whiteboarding exercises or process requirements analysis or whatever it might be, but in the actual execution of the work. So I've got lots of things beginning with A. Assistants who are going to help get stuff done. Administrators. Authorizers, people who need to actually authorize things that might need to be done slightly out of band, slightly exceptional. And assessors, people who are dealing with compliance issues and so on. If you have a closed system, it's actually extraordinarily difficult to support the needs of those people and to support their ability to support you in an effective way. If you can actually open up information, you can open up data about the way that work is unfolding, you can open up intelligence about performance, opportunities for improvement. You can engage all of these people in an operational environment. You are multiplying the force of what you can deliver. Okay, this is a team sport. The more you can collaborate on a broader scale, the more you can make the information more widely available, the more value you will get. I think I've probably already said that, actually. I'm getting a bit excited now.